Tariffs. We're all talking about tariffs. Tariffs are very much the in word right now, the big story that's happening at the moment when it comes to politics and all matters when it comes to the news, really. It's the biggest story out there. Now, there's a story that's broken today on the Wall Street Journal, so shout out to those guys for covering this, but I imagine it's going to be absolutely everywhere, and that is why we are covering it on this channel as well, of course. Basically, General Motors have pulled their profit guidance, citing significant tariff impact upon sales and trade. So let's have a look at what's been said here, guys. Like I said, shout out to the Wall Street Journal. Shout out to Christopher Otts as well for writing this story here on MSN. General Motors is shelving its earlier profit guidance for 2025, saying President Trump's auto tariffs have clouded the outlook and its prior forecast and can't be relied upon. Chief Financial Officer Paul Jacobson said the company would come back to the market with an update once its executives have more clarity. Given the evolving nature of the situation, we believe the future impacts of tariffs could be significant, Jacobson told reporters on a call on Monday evening. GM reported quarterly earnings Tuesday morning, but said it would delay the analyst call until Thursday, an unusual move that underscores the rapidly shifting trade environment. Trump is expected to soften the impact of auto tariff actions that could be taken ahead of the trip to Michigan for a rally on Tuesday evening, the Wall Street Journal reported late on Monday. The moves include preventing the tariffs from stacking on top of other import duties and easing some levies on foreign parts, which would provide some relief for automakers that build cars in the US and source components from abroad. GM's net income slid by 6.6% to $2.8 billion in the first quarter of 2025, a decrease driven in part by a lower sales mix of lucrative trucks and SUVs and higher warranty and labor costs. Revenue was up by 2.3%, lifted by a double-digit increase in sales during the first 3 months of the year. During the 3-month period, the company's adjusted pre-tax profits for the first quarter was $3.5 billion, or $2.78 a share. The financial results largely beat analysis expectations, but also showed some troublesome signs for a business that has had a highly profitable run over the past few years. In January, GM predicted a adjusted pre-tax profit in the range of $13.7 billion to $15.7 billion for 2025. The midpoint of the range would be roughly on par with last year's results. Jacobson attributed some of the earnings decline to an unusually strong first quarter in 2024, a period in which GM's shipments rebounded after a bruising UAW strike that disrupted factory production. The results also captured a rush among consumers to accelerate their car buying plans in March ahead of new auto imports tariffs that went into effect earlier this month as part of Trump's new trade policies. While US car sales rose by 13% in March, analysts expect the surge to be short-lived because vehicle prices are also set to rise in the coming months, and consumers who would normally have purchased a vehicle later in the year acted ahead of time. The industry undoubtedly benefited from some pull-ahead demand from customers purchasing vehicles ahead of potential tariffs, particularly in the month of March, Jacobson said on Monday. He added that a strong demand has continued into April, with GM's deliveries on pace to grow 20% over the same month last year. But as we just said, there are extenuating circumstances potentially behind that. Car companies have mostly absorbed the additional tariff costs, but some have warned of price increases in coming months if the tariffs remain. BMW, for example, we broke you here on the channel. They've raised their prices without really saying anything. Tesla, on the other hand, are going down in their prices, but again, different reasons for that. The auto sector is among the US industries most vulnerable to Trump's trade war. About half of new vehicles sold in the United States are imported, as thousands of new parts go through American-made vehicles or also made outside of outside of the country in places such as Mexico, Canada, South Korea, and Japan. For GM, one of the US's biggest importers of vehicles, the tariffs are expected to have an outsized impact, adding the challenges facing longtime chief executive Mary Barra. GM's core portfolio of gas-powered trucks and SUVs have enabled a solid earning growth in recent years, even as the company's multi-billion-dollar bet on electric vehicles has yet to prove profitable. GM is also trying to stabilize its once lucrative business in China, which is scaling back amid steep sales declines that began in 2018. Tesla, the electric vehicle leader in the United States, said earlier this month that Trump's trade policies are stressing its supply chains and adding costs, even though it builds all of its US sold vehicles in Texas and California. Ford Motor reported financial results for May 5th, and many analysts anticipate the company might also withdraw its guidance. So far, GM has avoided headline-making moves in response to the tariffs, such as warning of future price increases or disclosing plans to relocate more production to the US. The company recently said it plans to boost factory output slightly in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where it makes high-margin pickup trucks. It also has kept prices steady on imports such as the Korean-built Chevy Trax, which is among its more affordable models. So yeah, quite a long story there, guys, to go through. I just wanted to get all the details in there, basically. There's a lot to it at the end of the day. Your thoughts on it, guys, basically? I mean, is it a surprise that GM are basically saying, look, you know, our forecasts are no longer accurate. A lot has happened since we initially made them, and we need to revise them. Is it a warning sign? Is this something? Is this showing that perhaps the tariffs need to change? There is talk about them being loosened, really lightened when it comes to their impact, but we'll have to see what happens. Your thoughts in the comments below, and yeah, if you want to see more news stories like this on the world of cars, keep it tuned here to the channel. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world today.